As we know, pandemic, war, and the beginnings of an economic recession are beginning to be felt around the world. Many people are beginning to suffer from the events engulfing the entire planet. And, as we have seen in the last few months, it seems that only a few have enough capital to get by and not worry about everything. Of course, there are places where people have more problems than the normal world population, and worst of all, no one seems to be spared in those places. Indeed, it could even be said that it is the richest people who are suffering the most severe mistreatment by the government. What is going on with the Chinese government, and why is it monitoring the activity of the upper class in its territory? Is it looking for certain illicit activities, or is it a certain strategy to incriminate the upper class for something they did not commit? Although we follow the lives of rich and enterprising on this channel, we know that there are certain figures who are not worth following, let alone idolizing, because of the dubious situations in which they acquired their fortune. In high places, we do not only find people who have resorted to illicit acts to obtain their wealth, there are also many individuals and families who have obtained their wealth through hard work. And therefore, we are aware that we cannot measure everyone in the same place. Unfortunately, it seems that the Chinese government does not think so. If there is one thing China excels at, it is imposing somewhat harsh restrictions on its entire population. No matter where they are or what purchasing power they have, people often suffer from the government's decisions and are forced to comply with its rules, no matter how many there are. Or at least, that was the position of many inhabitants of its territory until a few days ago. On the 18th of this month, an event was announced that not only threatens to damage China's economy, but could also trigger a mass exodus of people with higher purchasing power. It is no secret that China has one of the most affluent upper-class populations in the world. Thanks to technological advances, entrepreneurship, and the development of alternatives that make people's lives easier, the nation has seen some of its best years ever, thanks to the capital of all these people. People who, to a greater extent, have found it necessary to fight for what they want, without waiting for others to give it to them. For a while, it seemed that the government was okay with these movements, and even encouraged the emergence of the nouveau riche on its territory. But lately, it seems that the people behind the country are looking to take advantage of these people. The announcement made this week not only shocked those with impressive wealth, but also frightened those businessmen and professionals who, although they do not belong to the elite, have stable incomes in excess of 6 figures. Such is the case of Harry Hu, a Shanghai restaurateur who is seriously considering leaving the country. Although he once had the idea in mind, it seems that now the decision has come to go through with it and leave with all his money. But why is all this happening, and what is motivating all these people to leave their nation? This whole event started when the Chinese government and Shanghai had to put the nation under a strict blockade. With the COVID-0 program, these territories have not only made a decision that is exiling them from the rest of the world, but is also causing several businesses and companies to lose valuable working days. As far as is known, their policy has caused millions of dollars in losses to the pockets of the upper class, and it seems that they are not prepared to continue with such a situation. Such is the discontent of the elite that investment migration consultancy Henley & Partners estimates that at least 10,000 high net worth residents are trying to leave the nation and extract $48 billion from China. If the figures are true, we would be looking at the second largest wealth extracted from a nation, behind only the shares issued by the Russian elite a few months ago. Of course, if the extreme security and health measures are successful, some of these entrepreneurs will still have the opportunity to continue their businesses and increase their assets. The problem is that this event is not the only one that is hurting China's economy or forcing the upper class to flee the country. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, as the question we must ask is, what will happen to these people? Will President Xi Jinping really let them go? As many of us know, China's ruler is not a particularly tolerant person with certain problems. He is a lover of laws and regulations, and his government has been plagued by restrictions ever since he came to power. In fact, it seems that the latter is just what China's elite are beginning to experience in recent months, as moving around or leaving the country has become increasingly difficult, especially in recent weeks. Yes, passport processing times have been put to the test, and documentation requirements have become more rigid, to the point of asking for data they did not ask for before. Similarly, getting large sums of money out of China has also become more difficult. Following the withdrawal of those foreign counterparties, who have long helped residents to circumvent capital controls, fewer and fewer people are able to send millions of dollars elsewhere. The stage seems to be set for another tense episode. Once again, the protagonists are the rich Chinese and the Communist Party. But who will come out on top this time, and will the president finally reaffirm the idea of "for the sake of common prosperity"? Or will the elite see their rights violated again? Well, while such a reunion would be something to behold, it seems that China's economic stability might not last long. Why? Because whether the president and his party like it or not, the economic cost of the COVID-0 program could cause serious damage to the country in the long run. If this happens, he and his entire cabinet will be limited to those taxes that the government usually collects from its population, specifically the upper class. We passed to the pause mark on the video, so while we get back to the topic of millionaires in China, we'd like to thank you for all of your views and for all the support you guys give us while enjoying our content. Your stay and interactions are an important part in the growth of our profile, so please continue to enjoy this and other videos we share with you. Are you ready? Let's continue with the flight of China's rich. Although many people think that the problem between the rich and the party is limited to a simple dispute over money, the truth is that this rift in the relationship has been worsening for a long time. And it is all due to two issues that seem to prevail in the country: power games and corruption. For those who do not know, anyone in China can achieve wealth in an honest and even laudable way. There are several ways in which a man or woman can earn more than 7 figures, and these range from passing the university entrance exam to working and saving a good part of what they earn. Yes, they have many ways to achieve the dream of prosperity. The problem is that as they enter the list of China's richest, the eyes of the party soon turn to the new elite. The Communist Party has various factions throughout the group. Each is looking for profit and funds to serve their cause, and what these governing bodies find instead is protection. At least, they do until one of them falls into the clutches of the others. To help you understand what's going on, let's look at the following example. All individuals must declare their assets and income to the tax office of their province or municipality. Logically, this is done to keep better control over the fortunes and incomes that companies receive. When one faction singles out a company, they look for flaws or discrepancies to praise the nouveau riche. While they may not have committed crimes, in several cases, the threats have an effect, and these millionaires end up meeting the faction's various demands. Even if the situation were limited to that extent, we believe that some millionaires would still want to stay in their homeland and inject their money into domestic companies or investments. Unfortunately, the worst comes later, when the bribing faction falls to the other divisions. In that respect, the law in China is all too clear and forceful. All who belong to that faction must be judged for their crimes, and, to quote Laudas 20, remember, the party is above the state, laws, rights, etc. Any violation of the party can only be handled by the party, and the party can disappear any Chinese citizen without explanation to anyone. That includes millionaires and others who have fallen prey to politicians. In such cases, they are left with only two alternatives while on trial: life imprisonment or death. All to prosper in a nation where the rich are singled out and, in several cases, taken advantage of their fear to bleed us like leeches. That is what several millionaires earn in Mao's nation, and that is the main reason why most seek to flee, as, with the onset of the recession being felt around the world, some assume that factional tactics will become more aggressive. And we come to the final section of the video. Honestly, what we discovered about the Chinese government's decision blew us away. Few countries exploit millionaires the way the territory does, and as seen in today's content, it looks like we will soon see the great migration of the upper class to countries more permissive of their lifestyle. Places where they don't bleed to death from confinement and recession. And you, what do you think about it? Do you think the Chinese government is being too harsh with the actions it has been taking? Do you think such laws are really necessary, or do you suppose they will stop at some point? Leave your comments and suggestions for new videos in the comments box. We're reading them. Thank you very much for sticking around. Leave a like and subscribe. See you next time.